Hello, folks. Many of you are talking about immigration, and I get it. Listen, guys, we cannot basically allow just anyone to walk in through our borders, right? Some of them may be criminals, they may be terrorists. You do not know. But at the same time, I'm surprised that a lot of people don't know their constitutional rights, okay? And a lot of people are making comments online, especially, I'm sorry, my brothers, the gringos, and they have no idea of history. And this is why I suggest many of you should study your constitutional rights, because in reality, this is not the first time. I'm for, especially if you could take out the illegal immigrants that are criminals, by all means. I'll get more in regarding to other immigrants. And I will say that we have to be empathetic, because we never know when we're going to be in that same situation. And it's a lot sooner than most people realize. And I'll get to that a little later. But regarding our birthrights, taking away birthrights from a baby born here in the United States, regardless how they got here, regardless whether the parents are illegal, whether they got raped, or whether they crossed the border and they were knocked off before coming over here, as I hear a lot of people saying. No disrespect to nobody, but history tends to repeat itself. And one of the reasons why history repeats itself, obviously, is because we do not study history. Okay. And all we know sometimes is exactly that. His story is a story told by the victors, right? By him. And it's not always the truth. I know that, for example, for a fact, because we all know when we were raised up in high school and junior high school, especially elementary, we heard all types of history, especially me. I'm Puerto Rican, right? Born in New York City. And one of the things we always heard was that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Then we found out a lot more that it wasn't true, and it's a lot worse than they conveyed to us. So I've been lied to since I was a child, right? We have all these constitutional rights, but yet a lot of times they're not being enforced, or they're using it against us. But getting back to that child being born here, which I'm definitely against. I knew it, and now I'm hearing other people saying it, because obviously isn't the Constitution, the amendment, exactly 14. So if you read Amendment 14 of the Constitution, and by the way, when I'm done, I'm going to put this in different areas, in YouTube, Facebook, and all that. And I'm going to put not just the amendment, the 14th Amendment, but also all the other amendments, so you are aware of your rights. You are aware of your fifth, the first, plead the fifth, right? All these other amendments, because honestly, most of you do not know it. It amazes me. Cops, police officer, government official, you swear an oath to the Constitution, but yet you don't know the Constitution. And again, I understand that we need policing, right? You can't just allow someone driving 100 miles an hour. They might kill somebody. But there are a lot more rights than people realize or understand. And a lot of departments are getting away with it because they are aware, or themselves are not aware of the Constitution right. But look at the 14th Amendment. It's very clear as it's conveyed, and it says in Section 1, all person born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privilege or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. Now, a lot of you may not even know that every word here has a legal meaning, including person, okay, and citizen. Then it goes to Section 2, but I'm going to post a line so you can read it. Now, you may say, okay, they're both illegal, so therefore, why would they have any right? It's irrelevant. The Constitution clearly states, and there is what is called landmark cases and case law that tells you about other incidents that happen that they rule in favor of the child being born here. So whether you agree or not, it is in the Constitution, I assure you that. And the only way to change the supreme law of the land is by what? An amendment. You need every state to vote, and 2/3 of every state, right? Or 2/3 as much have to vote in favor or against, so you can change a law or amend a law and enact a law in the Constitution. You cannot allow, whether you voted for Trump or not. I personally voted for Trump because he was the lesser of two evils, right? I really honestly believe that for America, he may be better. However, that being said, whether you like them, love them or not, you cannot allow any president with the signature of their pen, right, to endorse an executive order that is abridging are some rights. Because if you allow them to change your constitutional law, think about it. What's not stopping him or anyone from becoming a dictator? It becomes president, right? And I don't mean president as in leader, I mean president law, precedent, right? So they could keep doing it again and eventually take away your rights, even though they are trying. Your freedom of speech, your rights to bear arms, right? Your right to the fifth. So here is, again, a couple of civil rights acts that I want to tell you about. Amendment number 14. I remember it was during the time of 1868. Okay. And it was July when it was amended. Look it up. Constitution Amendment 14. Now, for those that don't know, at the time, if you recall, many of the slaves that were being brought from Africa, the woman, like the words you guys are using, got knocked out over there, and they will bring over here pregnant, and they will be born, and they had to decide whether that child was going to be an American citizen. In fact, it's even worse than that, because at that time, in order to count a citizen, they will be counted as 3/5 of a person. Okay, 3/5 of a person. So eventually, that was abolished because of the civil rights movement under Abraham Lincoln. Okay, but just to give you an idea, so you can see, and I wrote it down. In 1866, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, the 14th Amendment was amended in 1868, and there was a Chinese immigrant. Well, I should say there was immigrants that came here illegally, and one of the ladies, Chinese lady, became pregnant to Wan Kim Ark. Look it up. Wan Kim Ark. He was born in 1873 in San Francisco. So happens the parents were laborers, right? They were illegal, and they left back in 1889. Obviously, they took their child with them. Now comes back the Chinese guy, his name again, Wang Kim R, came back in 1895, and they didn't want to let him in. And their argument was exactly what many of you are saying right now, which is, oh, he's not a citizen because his parents are both illegal. They were aliens. Well, it so happens there was a case, and obviously the Supreme Court declared that yes, he has the right to citizenship. He was a citizen. There are other cases, like you see on Plyer versus Doe, that speaks exactly about that, because the only one, and when you say jurisdiction, also look up the word jurisdiction, for God's sake. Okay. But the only one that has, that doesn't apply to are, for example, ambassadors, diplomats, or soldiers of enemy invading our country. Otherwise, by constitutional law, doesn't matter how you got here. If you were born here, you are an American citizen. So this is why I'm a constitutionalist. I happen to know the Constitution. You know, I'm not an attorney. I did study constitutional law, business law, real estate law. However, I'm not an attorney, but I know the Constitution. And it was so simple back then. There was no phones or nothing, that it was stipulated to be clear. So look up those things. Now, I also want to say that regarding the immigrants, you have to have empathy. Most people are not aware that now is a lot of Americans are leaving the United States, and they're leaving the United States because the cost of living has gotten ridiculous. They cannot afford. You see kids and young people crying crying online because they can't afford a home. The cost of living is too high. Sometimes many people have to work 2 or 3 jobs, right, in order to make it. Even the only way I believe that you can make it in this country right now is being an entrepreneur, a business owner, and yet the business class has drastically been declining, and that's a fact. So you have to be a little empathetic, because, again, there's a lot of Americans leaving the United States. You may not be aware of that, but they are expats in other countries because they can't even afford to live here. Now, one of the things recently what happened was they try to stop TikTok, okay, and block them. And again, there were many young individuals that was making a nice income selling, a business entity, selling products or providing services, and they were young. And obviously it was going to be like many millions of these young people that was going to stay without business or without employment until allegedly Donald Trump kicked in. It is what it is. Let's see what happens. But the point is that there are over half this country that are on TikTok. So it would have been unjust. Now, because of that, when they have blocked TikTok, a lot of people went to what is called Retinol, which is a Chinese app, because they did it in rebellion, because they say they're trying to stop us from giving us data, which was a lie. It was regarding what actually was going on throughout the world, especially in Gaza, where innocent people are being killed, and it was exposing a certain genocidal Zionist regime in which They do not want to do that because a lot of them honestly are running our nation. And this does not have nothing to do with me being anti-Semitic. This is a fact. You can look it up. There's a lot of companies that are owned by the same people, and it doesn't have to be Jewish, by the way. It could be Christian Zionists as well. Okay, because it's not everybody. But I'm glad and I'm happy for those Jewish people that come forward and are speaking in behalf of this and are against the crimes, the war crimes being committed in Gaza. Now, that being stated, for those of you that are against immigrants, again, I understand, and like I said, you can't just allow anybody in, and obviously they have to come by legal means, because if not, then what happens is those that do produce, maybe carpentry, roof, a lot of times are the immigrants that can withstand those heat or those pressure in order to do that, and that keeps the prices low. Because if not, if you actually hire an American, right, they're going to want to get paid more, which means prices will go up and we will have even more hyperinflation. Just so you know. But another thing you have to understand, karma, I believe in karma. Okay, and I could tell you again, I hope I don't make this longer than what it is. I'm Puerto Rican. Now, what is a Puerto Rican? A lot of times, a lot of Americans, especially, I'm sorry, some gringos, right? You do not know Caucasians that Puerto Ricans are Native Americans. Okay, even Puerto Ricans, many did not know that. Okay, we were from a tribe called Arawak Taino Indians, or really indigenous people. Arawak Taino indigenous people. And our tribe ran all the way, not just Puerto Rico. Okay, it was Cuba, Santo Domingo, Jamaica, Panama, Florida, Carolina. Okay, and then obviously they divided us, right? They divided us into Cuba and into different areas. Same thing with the Latin countries. Obviously, when Spain came over, they divided the Incas, which they ended up creating, right? Ecuador, Colombia, Venezuela, and all so forth. Okay, but we are part of a tribe, and obviously, when Spain conquered, the European conquered the area, the Americas, they divided us, and you have now today, well, Cuba, Santo Domingo, as I said, Puerto Rico, but yet we are what? All from the same bloodline, right? Yeah, we were mixed with African slave because once they kept on killing us and we will disappear to the mountains, they needed sugar and they needed all these spices and stuff. So obviously they brought in African slaves, and that's how we got mixed, for those that don't know. But whether you're born in Puerto Rico, born here, you're an American citizen. So be careful what you're saying, because I hear a lot of people sometimes speaking about predominant neighbors where Puerto Ricans, which that makes us American. We fight World War I, II, III, you name it. I've said three. We might get there. But the point is that we are Americans. And some of us do not speak English. So don't assume because we speak Spanish, that makes us an illegal immigrant, right? Because I see a lot of posts out there saying, okay, if you see an illegal immigrant, call this number. How do you know he's illegal? You do not know that, right? You don't know why, because he speaks Spanish. So be careful, because that's the same thing that happened in Nazi Germany when people started pointing out. And remember, they came up after the artists, the African Americans, blacks, right? They came after Jehovah's Witnesses, and eventually they came after the Jewish people, all right? And there's a little more to that. I don't want to get too much deep into that. But again, a lot of what's going on right now is karma. These illegal immigrants, we as Americans have invaded their country. I assure you, we created coups, right? Where we have to remove their leaders, their presidents, to take away their gold, to take away their oil, to take away their sugar, to take away their spices, right? And this is a fact. Bananas. And this is a fact, and I have a few I can name in Guatemala, Honduras, Salvador, Chile, Panama, Brazil, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Mexico. Mexico, we stole pretty much almost half the country, right? Under duress, we put a gun at the general. We all know the story in Texas Alamo. We put a gun in his head, right, and made him sign the country, half of the country away, basically. And that was even back then under statutes of frauds, under duress. But I digress. But like I said, a lot of these countries are hurting because we have invaded them. We have stolen their wealth, and then we put our own government in place, or governments that represent our interests, right? And I know a few, as I mentioned again, like Nicaragua, right? Nicaragua, it was sugar, and we put our own president in place from their own people, obviously, but always to control the land, to control the benefits. And believe it or not, a lot of these people that took over were even companies here in America, right? That wasn't even government. But yes, this was backed up by the government. There's a lot of history and a lot of facts to what I'm saying. You can research it. I will put a video and link so you can research it yourself. But the point is, because of that, and because we have put through the IMF, we have lent these loans with compounding interest that are unpayable. That is, they cannot pay it back. That has brought their country into dire circumstances. Not only that, we eventually get to wars. We keep getting into wars, and we keep printing dollars, and the dollars obviously loses its buying power, right? Because it's deflating. We are diluting the dollar, basically. Okay, that's what's going on. This is why when you wonder when you can't afford certain things right now, why is it? Because our government is printing fake dollars, which is being merged with the real dollar, thus diluting the buying power of the dollar. And the fact of the matter is, guys, as I stated, eventually we are going to be that immigrant. And a lot of us are migrating elsewhere because we can't afford the cost of living here in America anymore on a regular salary. I remember myself when I used to work, I used to get paid, this is in White Castle. And 1 week we paid the entire rent and I had the rest to have fun or whatever as I did. That's not no more. Usually on a minimum wage job, I think even you and your partner have to work just to be able to make ends meet. It's unaffordable. It's gotten worse. And again, when that app came out, the Chinese app, where they stopped TikTok and everybody saw and went to China, started speaking to Chinese, we saw that they have a lot more benefits than we do. I mean, from the pay, for the free health insurance, the utilities are way cheap. The water, you don't have property taxes. We didn't have property taxes here, and I'm going to do another video in regards to that because no property taxes. So the house is actually yours, right? You don't have to worry that if you lose your job, you're going to lose your home because you can't pay your property taxes. So there's a lot going on, guys. So all I ask is please be a little empathetic because the reason why they're here, they're coming as karma to collect. Obviously, they're not doing it on purpose, but they're coming here for a better life. And yes, I know it's hard. And yes, they have to do it by legal means. And yes, we have to protect the borders, but have a little empathy because eventually that wall that they put in, it's going to keep you in when you're going to want to wish you could go out. This is definitely getting bad, and the numbers doesn't lie, it's showing it. BRICS has surpassed America and Europe combined. And the dollar, believe it or not, I'm in real estate, but the fact is that I know the dollar is crashing. Capitalism is basically ate itself up. I'm not going to get too much into that. One day I'll do a video in regards to that. So be a little empathetic. Know your constitutional rights, guys, because all we could do is fight for it and make sure that the people Congress is representing, we the people, are really representing we the people, not special interest group or lobbying for other foreign entities, okay, or a small group of elite or people, okay? They have to represent we the people versus representing corporate interests because, again, that's why we are in danger. So I thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and share. If you would like to comment below, please say something, and thank you.